Hi, I'm Ellen from the Chili Dog. Today we continue with the Double Feature Socks knit along with our friends from Makers Mercantile, and we'll be knitting the gusset of our sock. Like most sock patterns, you can knit the double feature socks using your favorite style of small circumference needle, rigid DPNs, flexi flips, a long circular needle for magic loop, or two circular needles. However, throughout this series, I'll be demonstrating how to knit the socks two at a time, working on two circular needles. In the gusset section of our socks, which is right here, the instep stitches across the top of the foot will continue in the established stitch pattern. The sole stitches of the sock will primarily be stockinette stitch. And since we're knitting in the round, that just means that all the stitches are knit. But every other round is an increase round with a knit one below increase on each side of those sole stitches. In this lesson, I'll show you how to do those knit one belows. Let's get started. As I'm knitting the gusset, I'll continue to knit and hold all of the sole stitches for both socks on one needle and all of the instep stitches for both socks on the other needle. Because of the size of the socks I'm knitting, I happen to have a color change as I begin the gusset. But if you're knitting a different size, you may just be continuing with your current yarn color. The first round of the gusset is an increase round, and I start with the sole stitches. So I'm going to slide those sole stitches to the tip of my needle so I can start knitting. As I begin knitting across my sole stitches, I just want to make sure that I'm knitting with the other end of the same needle that the stitches are held on. The round begins with a knit one and knit one below the next stitch. So I'm going to knit into this stitch and then knit into the stitch that is below it. I find it easiest to do that by knitting the stitch. I keep it on my needle for right now. And then I'm also going to knit into the stitch below. And once I have both of those stitches on my right hand needle, then I go ahead and drop from my left hand needle. And then I'm going to knit across the entire sock until I am one stitch away from the side. On this side, I'm going to knit one below and then knit the one that's on my needle. So first I do the knit one below increase, and then I do a regular knit one and drop the stitch off my left hand needle. Once I'm done with the sole of the first sock, I can slide the stitches down my needle a little bit just so that they're out of the way. Slide the stitches for the second sock up to the needle tip. And again, I'm going to start with a knit one and knit one below the next stitch. So I'll knit one. I leave the stitch on my left hand needle until I complete the knit one below. Knit one below that stitch. It's a little bit tricky to grab it because I had that color change right there. After I finish the knit one below, I can drop the stitch off the left hand needle. And again, I'll knit all the way across until I get to one stitch before the side of the sock. When I have one stitch left on the sole, I'm going to knit one below and then knit the one that's on my needle. So first the knit one below and then knit the one that is on the needle. After I am finished with that, I've worked across all of the sole stitches. So I can rotate my work to the instep side. I'm going to slide the sole stitches that I just finished down to the center of the cord and just let them hang there out of the way. And now it's time to work across my instep stitches. So I'll slide my stitches to the needle tip and knit across the instep and make sure that as I'm going across the instep, I'm knitting with the other end of this same needle. After my increase round is complete, I'll work one round even with no increases. Then I'll continue to alternate between increase rounds and even rounds until the gusset is complete. I hope you enjoy knitting the gusset of our double feature socks. In our next lesson, we'll be turning the heel and knitting the heel flap. If you have any questions during the knit along or want to share your progress and cheer on our other knitters, head over to the Makers Mercantile group on Ravelry and look for the Double Feature Socks KAL discussion thread. Until we stitch again, happy knitting.